All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the Todd Starnes Radio Show. We are so happy that you're hanging out with us noon to 3 Eastern. Welcome to all of our viewers as well on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. And of course, we have the largest growing number of Gen Zers now listening to talk radio. And we welcome all of you guys to, some of them are probably just getting up. You know, it's summertime. So folks enjoying a little time off from school and all of that good stuff. We have a terrific program lined up for you today. Of course, one of our dear friends, she is the queen of talk radio, Mary Walter, will be here. Also, Michael Wilson from Patriot Talk 920, going to weigh in on James Tallarico. Oh, Tallarico, I told you know what? Dylan, you know I don't like to do this, but because it comes across as braggadocious, and I don't want to be a braggadocious kind of a guy, but I told you so. You know, I try not to use that phrase too much, but I told you folks that James Tallarico was going to have a problem with black Texas voters because of the religion thing. Now, most black Americans, while they may vote Democrat and they may embrace some liberal policies, when it comes to their religion, when it comes to their church and Almighty God, they're very conservative. I mean, very conservative. And when you've got some sort of a limp-wristed white guy going out there and saying, Jesus supported abortion, homie, don't play that game in the black church. I'm just telling you. And I did tell you. And so now James Tallarico has a huge problem with black voters. And the media is not going to tell you this. The media is going to say it's all sorts of other issues. But ladies and gentlemen, hear me on this. He's got a problem with the black church in the great state of Texas because they don't like this whole thing about Jesus was non-binary. No, they're not going down that road. So anyway, we'll talk to Michael Wilson about that. And in studio, the National Republican Congressional Committee has named Tennessee's 9th congressional district race as one of the big national races. They believe this is going to be a pickup for the Republicans in the fall. Jeremy Thompson, one of the 4 candidates running on the Republican side of the ticket there for the nomination, he's going to be joining us, and you'll enjoy that conversation. We start, though, in the great state of Georgia. There is a crazy controversy going on down there involving a restaurant called Toast on Lenox. Now, let me give you some background before we jump into this. You've got a pretty heated race for governor there. Rick Jackson is the Republican nominee. He's a guy, and his story is really fascinating. He is a multimillionaire many, many times over. And he grew up in abject poverty. As a matter of fact, he grew up in the housing projects of Atlanta. So this guy knows what it's like to grow up and live in extreme poverty, overcoming those obstacles that were in his life early on, from a broken home, bounced around, and he became a very successful businessman. And now he is the Republican nominee for governor. So anyway, he stopped by this black-owned restaurant called Toast on Lenox and had a chance to meet the owner. The owner is I don't even know the owner's politics, but they haven't endorsed Rick Jackson. She just happened to be the owner of the restaurant. And Rick Jackson came in for a visit, and they took a photograph together, and the owner posted it on her social media, as you would any person of note who would come into your restaurant. That's happened to me a couple of times in the Memphis area. That doesn't necessarily mean I support, well, I guess it does in my case because I'm eating food there, so therefore I would endorse the restaurant. But in this particular case, the owner's not endorsing anything. She just was grateful to have a prominent person coming into her establishment. And so anyway, Democrats got wind of this, and they're literally trying to destroy this woman's business because she is a black woman and because she was kind and hospitable to a white Republican gubernatorial candidate. It's beyond shocking the way that all of this is going down. And it's created a lot of controversy across the entire state of Georgia. This is going to be an ugly race. I am concerned, very concerned, that Keisha Lance Bottoms, who is the Democrat nominee, the former mayor of Atlanta, very concerned that she gets anywhere near the governor's office there in Atlanta. So now Team Jackson, Rick Jackson's crew, they've put out statements about all of this. And by the way, Keisha Lance Bottoms was asked about this as well. And she, instead of saying, hey, look, we should not be boycotting any businesses, she actually doubled down. And she actually said that, hey, look, actions have consequences. So in a sort of roundabout way, she's actually suggesting that people boycott this business because this black-owned business welcomed a white guy. This is insanity, just insanity. So anyway, it turns out there's a little bit more to the story, and thank goodness for the Jackson campaign, because they're out there and they're helping to fill in the puzzle pieces here by this cancel culture mob that's out there trying to shut down the business only because they welcomed a white guy in. And it turns out that Keisha Lance Bottoms, when she was mayor, are you ready for this? Nearly 100 Atlanta restaurant locations were shut down because of her lockdowns. She ordered the restaurants to close, and as a result of that, hundreds and hundreds of people lost their jobs. Business owners were forced to find other ways to make ends meet because of the policies of this radical mayor during the China virus pandemic. I mean, what a disgusting thing. Now, I want to read to you, and again, Bottom saying that anybody, and this is the warning, and she put out a warning to every single business in Georgia. Anybody who welcomes Rick Jackson has made a calculated decision based on the benefits and the risk of doing that. She's making it very clear that she will pour gasoline on the fire when it comes to boycotting and canceling Georgia's small businesses simply because of political reasons. And in this case, it really wasn't even about politics. It was just a black-owned business owner welcomed a white guy in and got a picture with him. Oh, I want to share, this is interesting. So he grew up, are you ready for this? Rick Jackson grew up in Techwood Homes. And if you folks in the Atlanta area or in Georgia, you know that was a very rough housing project. He had seven stepfathers, spent his childhood in 5 foster homes. And now this guy is living the American dream. But I'm telling you, this is something else that you would have these Democrats out there. And look, we're watching this happen. It's really a cancel culture environment. Where in Memphis, Tennessee, you had the owner of the Italian pizza joint, Tamboli's, and the owner said, we're not serving National Guard troops in our. You cannot eat here if you're in law enforcement. I mean, how is that going over, ladies? I mean, I will tell you that restaurant got thousands and thousands of emails and telephone calls, so much so they had to shut down their phone systems. Dylan, you know who they're blaming for that, by the way? The restaurant. You know who they're blaming for all of the controversy?
Who's that?
Yours truly.
Well?
And to that I say, you're welcome, America.
Exactly.
You know what? We didn't tell anybody to boycott. We're just saying, here's what they did. Shame on them. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this is not going over well in Georgia. As a matter of fact, here's one young lady criticizing Keisha Lance Bottoms. Cut 16, please.
She's telling every black business owner in Georgia and every minority-owned business in the state that if you speak to someone who is not approved of in the cult, then she's not going to stand up for you. She will let the cancel mob do its work. She will fan the flames instead of fighting the fire. That's what she just said she'd do. That is not a governor, y'all. That is a gatekeeper. A true leader would have stood up and said, my opponent has every right to speak to every business, just like I have every right to speak to every business owner. I am allowed to be in spaces where I'm so-called not welcome, just like he is allowed to be in any spaces that are where he's so-called not welcome. Because I'm fighting to be the governor of Georgia, not the governor of Black people, not the governor of Democrats, not the governor of liberals, not the governor of women.
Yeah, I like this lady. And she's absolutely right. Unbelievable. By the way, Governor Brian Kemp is weighing in on this. The governor of Georgia, small businesses remember back in 2020 when Mayor Bottoms wanted to keep them closed or even worse, let them get burned down. That was during the BLM riots. Maybe that's why so many are looking to support Rick Jackson this fall. Attorney General Chris Carr says Keisha Lance Bottoms did not hesitate to shut down Atlanta businesses during COVID. Now she's siding with those calling to boycott a business that dared to let her political opponent walk in the door. We cannot allow her to govern again. And they're absolutely right about all of this. So anyway, curious to hear from you folks out there about this insane story. And the person I feel sorry for is the owner of the business, Toast on Lenox. And I don't know if they're Republican or Democrat. I just don't know. But the fact is that she was kind-hearted and she did what any business owner did. She welcomed in a customer. And apparently that's against the law now in the state of Georgia. 901-260-5926 is our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. We're going to be taking your calls on this. Also, ladies and gentlemen, all this month we are counting down the days. August 11th, the launch of my brand new book, my newest book. It's called The Golden Age, How Trump Saved America. Now, if you pre-order before August the 11th, if you pre-order online, we are going to give you an unpublished extra chapter of the book, our way of saying thank you. All you have to do is when you place your order, give us a call, let us know, and we will send you that unpublished chapter of the book. Again, just a very simple way of saying thank you for pre-ordering a copy of The Golden Age. You say, Tom, what if I pre-ordered a month ago? That's okay. You just call in, let us know. We'll get your info, and we're going to send you that unpublished chapter of the book. 901-260-5926. This is The Todd Stern Show.
An Atlanta business faces backlash from some critics after a social media post showed one of the owners with Republican gubernatorial candidate Rick Jackson that went viral.
Well, that picture got taken last week and has sparked fierce online debate from both sides. Fox's Annie Mapp is live in Atlanta with the details. Annie, what are you learning?
Yeah, we're talking about Toast on Lenox. It's a black-owned brunch spot with locations in both Midtown and Buckhead. Since that picture was posted, some on social media are encouraging others not to go. Democrat Keisha Lance Bottoms, who's running for governor against Jackson, didn't stay quiet. She went on social media to warn other black businesses from taking the same actions. Jackson's office responded, accusing Bottoms of wanting to cancel small businesses based on who they let through the door.
I just thought it was kind of tacky to think you're going to cancel someone who worked so hard for their business just because she allowed someone to come in their business.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and it's good to see folks pushing back, and we'll see how all this plays out. But one of the things that I appreciate about Rick Jackson is that he is going into those communities that normally Republicans do not go into, and I'm talking about minority communities, whether they be black or Hispanic. And if we are really going to make an impact, if we are really going to change the direction of this country, then we're going to have to take that message into these communities. But we're also going to have to make sure that it's not, that it's authentic, that it's not pandering. And that's a big problem that Republicans have had for a very long time, is this pandering. So it's got to be authentic. That's what I'm talking about here. 901-260-5926 is our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. Welcome back to the Todd Starnes radio show. Following some other big stories, and we're going to get to those a little bit later on, including this controversy over Van Jones from CNN, who is he's sort of like the darling of the conservative cable channels. They love this guy. And it's sort of like, when I was at Fox News, they used to have Al Sharpton on all the time. And one of the things that really bothered me was that, and this is just my personal opinion here, but, people like Al Sharpton are very bad people. And yet you would have some of the major hosts at Fox News Channel, they'd pal around with Al Sharpton. They'd donate to Al Sharpton's far-left charities. They would give him airtime on their programs to promote his whatever he's doing out there. And it just seems to me it's really a double standard. And it tells me that you are not authentic. So anyway, they treat Van Jones the same way. And Van Jones is trying to, you got to watch people like Van Jones. And the reason why is that he is a likable person, but the reality is he's a far leftist. And yesterday, one of the Fox News hosts had to actually apologize because of what she said about Van Jones. This is Rachel Campos Duffy. Her husband is in the administration. Cut 15, please.
Really moderates. These are the same people who partnered with the teachers unions and put this radical agenda into our school system, into our curriculum. And now they're saying, why do we have all these young radicals? They all know they're all radicals. The difference is the so-called moderates, and they're not. Van Jones is a self-proclaimed communist. I mean, he's not a moderate. What he is a power-seeking person, and he likes the position of power and money that he has within the current Democrat establishment. And part of that is hiding the agenda, pretending like you're more moderate. And these young people are saying, no, we want to be out and proud. What's wrong? You told us in school that we should be, that socialism was great. You never told us how many people it killed. You told us it was awesome and that capitalism was patriarchal and terrible and racist. And now they're actually acting out on it. And the people in the party are like, wait, you're not supposed to say any of these things out loud. We're just supposed to get into power, So this is this very interesting situation that they're in. They can't control the young people, and they don't want to own them, but they created them.
So look, and I'll explain this coming up after the break. A few commercial breaks later, Rachel Campos Duffy was forced to apologize for calling Van Jones a self-proclaimed communist when, in fact, he was. And I have the evidence. I will share that with you coming up after the break. 901-260-5926, our number. That's 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Starnes Show. All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Todd Stearns Radio Show. So I want to get back to this Van Jones story. So Rachel Campos Duffy goes out there on national television on Fox and says that Van Jones is a self-proclaimed communist. And all you know what breaks loose. I'm telling you that your conservative cable news channels are just not as conservative as they used to be. And apparently Van Jones made some calls. He is very close to some of the primetime hosts. And in a matter of minutes, Rachel Campos Duffy was forced to walk it all back. Now, here's the reality of the story. Van Jones was, in fact, a communist for about 10 years of his life. Now, back in the 1990s, he did an interview with a publication called the East Bay Express. They did a profile on Van Jones. And he expressed some very radical ideas. He said, quote, "I was a rowdy nationalist." He was talking about how he became, this was during the Rodney King verdict. He said, "I was a rowdy nationalist on April 28th, and by August, I was a communist." During that period, Van Jones helped found an activist organization called Standing Together to organize a revolutionary movement. According to the group's documents, members studied Marxist political theory, including imperialism and revolution. Jones told the newspaper that he spent roughly a decade trying to be a revolutionary after meeting radical activists while jailed during protest. Now, Van Jones says that he later changed his views in life. And okay, but the reality is that for 10 years of his adult life, he was a radical leftist. He was a communist. So I'm not sure why Rachel Campos Duffy had to apologize. Because let me ask you this. Do you think that somebody in their adult life for 10 years, a radical communist, do you think they really change? Or do you think that, like a chameleon, they change their colors so they can get a bigger paycheck, or they can find themselves or present themselves to be much more appealing to be a pundit on a cable news channel like CNN? I'm just asking. Just asking the questions here. But yes, Van Jones was in fact an identified member of the Communist Party and participated in organizations influenced by Marxist ideas. That, ladies and gentlemen, is absolute, irrefutable fact. And so now Van Jones is out there, and he's all concerned because he's getting blowback. And the reason why he's getting blowback is because now he's saying that the Democrat Party has just gone too far. And that now that these young and hungry communists are rising up through the ranks, and they have pretty much taken over the Democrat Party, now everybody is freaking out. Here's Van Jones, cut 14.
With Gretchen Carlson. So, Van, your post struck a nerve, right? We saw it strike a nerve on Fox News. I saw it strike a nerve among many on the left.
Yes.
Okay? For whom some of those things you mentioned have become passionate rallying calls, right?
Yeah.
But you knew it was going to. You didn't. Van Jones doesn't walk into a moment like this being like, "Oh, I don't think this is going to have a splash."
Okay, let me go like this.
Oh, why?
To you.
Why? Why do you say?
Because this was necessary.
Thank you.
This was especially from your voice. Now, I'm going to let you respond first because this is about you, and then I can pick up.
Well, listen, I cannot tell you, this phone has been blowing up all day. Governors from both parties, senators from both parties, Democrats in the House calling, thanking me for saying what everybody's been saying behind the scenes, which is that this stuff is going too far. I am a progressive Democrat. You want to talk about prison reform? I've done it as well as anybody, Republican Democrats in the South with Trump. I've done prison reform. I never said have no prisons. Where are you going to put the Klan? I've done police reform. I never said no police. Where are you going to put the pedophiles? Who's going to grab the pedophiles? This stuff is going too far. And part of the thing that has to happen is we saw what happened in the Republican Party when things started going in a nutty direction and nobody stood up. I am happy that the young people are fighting for affordability, Medicare for all the good things. I've been waiting my whole life to see a youth movement do what it's doing. But it's being hijacked by people who are putting in nutty ideas, supporting terrorists, nutty ideas saying that we don't need cops in prison. We can't deport anybody, even if they rape somebody. Who said this? Chevalier. Where did Chevalier?
Chevalier is going to be is yes. the Democratic nominee. DSA nominee for Congress now from the Bronx in New York.
I just want to say that there was a shockwave through this party when Mamdani, who everybody's excited about, stabbed in the back Espiat, who was the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, beloved by everybody, who backed Mamdani. Mamdani said, "I will back you." Then he turns around, stabs him in the back.
Back Chevalier.
All right, there you go. So that's just a snippet there of the conversation with Van Jones on CNN. And the problem is they've opened Pandora's box, and they don't know what to do now. The Democrats are done. Their party, it's over. The Nancy Pelosi's, look, when AOC came to power, it was over for Nancy Pelosi. It's over for Chuck Schumer. They're not controlling their own party anymore. Hakeem Jeffries is not even controlling his own party, and Hakeem Jeffries is fighting for his political life right now. That's how tenuous things are within the Democrat Party. So the question now is there any way to salvage it? And I don't believe there is. Bill Maher making this statement, he was doing an interview on ABC's This Week. Cut 13, please.
So I'm not living in communist America. I mean, I know the talking point is that, well, it's not communism, it's socialism. Okay, I've read the quotes from the DSA platform, from their own mouths. Don't tell me I'm not seeing what I am seeing.
Yeah, it's true. So now Bill Maher says he's done with the Democrats. So the question is, what happens now? Well, we're going to have to wait and see, because as we have seen in the primaries, these radical progressives have been very successful. At least the three that won in the New York primaries, they will be in Congress. There's no doubt about that. The question moving forward is, all right, what about places like Tennessee, where you've got the 9th Congressional District, and we're going to be talking to a candidate on the Republican side of the aisle, Jeremy Thompson, about that in just a matter of moments. But will the progressives, will their message resonate in other parts of the nation besides the big urban centers? But even still, I don't think that matters. Even if the progressives, the only races they win are in those big cities like Chicago, like Seattle, like Los Angeles, and others, if they're able to be successful there, they will take full control of the Democrat Party. And at that point, what do? Do you start a third party? I mean, history has proven that has not worked out well. However, on the other side of the aisle, you've got a looming civil war within the Republican Party. Once Trump has gone after the midterms, it's really going to get interesting watching the Republicans, because there will be a fight for control of the Republican Party. Will the establishment regain control, or will the America First crowd, will they maintain control and move the party forward? And that will be decided in the aftermath of whatever happens in November. So anyway, Van Jones, look, the guy, for 10 years of his life, he was a communist. I don't see how you can thoroughly cleanse yourself of that ideology in just a short amount of time. I do not get that. I rather believe that Van Jones basically softened his image so he would be appealing for a job in the Obama administration, which he got, and then as a longtime pundit over on CNN. That's what I think is going on with Van Jones. But again, there's no reason for Rachel Campos Duffy to apologize. Come on, stand by your people, Fox. Come on. 901-260-5926, our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. This segment of the program brought to you by our friends at Chapter. Chapter's advisors are honest. They're not paid to push anyone on any particular Medicare plan. And if you're turning 65 or you are already on Medicare, well, you could be overpaying right now, and you may not even know it, which, again, is why I support Chapter. They are not paid to push any particular plan. They are the only Medicare advisor that compares every plan nationwide to tell you where you stand. In one call, you're going to know exactly what you're entitled to. And if you're already on the right plan, they're going to tell you that. If you're not, they're going to help you switch. It's that simple. A call to Chapter is free. It takes less than 20 minutes. And if you're turning 65, already on Medicare, you can also go online. Go to askchapter.org/realhelp. That's askchapter.org/realhelp. Be sure to check them out. Last year, folks who found new plans with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. Again, that website, askchapter.org/realhelp. Today is a very important day in American history. It is National Junk Food Day. Every year, July 21st, you are allowed to indulge in your favorite snacks without any guilt, and you don't have to worry about counting calories. I love this. Just curious, Dylan, do you have any particular favorite junk food?
I was going to say I celebrate this day a lot more than today. So I'll say the flavor blasted goldfish can never go wrong.
The flavor blasted goldfish.
Yeah, it's extra cheddar. So it's not just the normal goldfish, extra cheddar flavor blasted goldfish.
That sounds tasty.
It is very tasty.
Wow. What about Ian the intern? You know, Ian the intern is going to have.
I'm sure he does. He's running around here somewhere. But
Okay,
we'll
have to.
wrangle him
Well,
in.
holler at him. Does Helen have a favorite snack? Junk food?
I do love the nacho cheese Doritos. Those are delicious.
Oh, those are tasty. Yeah, I love that. It's interesting. I was asked this question earlier by our good buddy Bill Main on WDUN. Every Tuesday morning, I do a hit with those guys on their morning show. And immediately, I don't know why it just came right out. No, I'm not Taco Bell. I'm talking about Brim's pork rinds, the finest pork rinds in America.
I cannot argue with that. It is very, very good choice.
Are you
there.
a pork? I didn't take you for a pork rind guy.
It's been a while since I've had them. It's like, you only eat them if you really go to a barbecue restaurant or you like seek out the pork rinds. But it's been a while.
I can only eat Brim's. That's it.
Brim's is very good.
Yeah.
They have a lot of good products.
And they're also apparently healthy. Someone was telling me this yesterday that the actual, that's one particular junk food that's actually good for you.
I will believe that. You don't call it junk food, then I will eat them forever.
I love it. So it's, well, there you go. It was interesting. I was at the supermarket yesterday.
Helen just said, what's a pork rind?
Wait, what?
She's not from the South.
Helen.
We need to
What is wrong with
educate
you?
her.
Are you kidding me? Pork rinds are like, it's a Southern delicacy. And you don't want to see them made, though. That's the only thing. I had a chance to meet Terry Brimhall, who is the owner of Brim Snack Foods, many, 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 many years ago. One of the finest family-owned companies in America, by the way. They're just good people. Salt of the earth.
I just looked them up, and I'm seeing them, and I have never seen these before in my life.
They are, once you try a pork rind, you're going to be addicted. It's basically deep fried. It's the deep fried skin of a pig.
Oh, wonderful.
With salt.
Okay.
It's very tasty. And it has sort of like I don't know, it tastes like bacon. I mean, when you eat them, it sort of has a little bacony taste. Everybody
like
okay?
Chips.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No.
Bacon chips.
It is bacon chips, exactly. So anyway, curious to know what your favorite junk food is in America. 901-260-5926. Is there something you got to have, you can't live without? 901-260-5926. So I was in the supermarket yesterday. I was looking for a Vidalia onion. And first of all, I'll get back to the Vidalia in just a second. No, I'll start with the Vidalia. I don't know if the Vidalia onions in Kroger are actually Vidalia onions because it's like the finest onion in America. And I just don't know if I'm getting snookered because apparently you're supposed to be able to know if you're eating a Vidalia onion, which is apparently made in, I think they're only grown in Vidalia, Georgia.
I only know yellow and red, so I don't I don't go that far into the onion sphere.
So anyway, I'm over there contemplating whether or not I want a yellow onion or a Vidalia onion and what is the difference between the two. And then I look over. There's a huge crowd around the lettuce section of the produce section. And Dylan, people were just literally eyeballing. They were stopping and they were looking and staring at the lettuce, wondering if it was safe.
Yeah, you have to.
So I actually had to eat a salad last night. So I boldly go over. I just march right in, grab the lettuce, and walk right out. And people are like, oh, wow, did you see that?
You're the bravest soldier in that supermarket.
That's right. I'm feeling good.
Saluted you probably.
Had a big old bowl of salad last night.
How do you feel?
I feel mighty good.
Okay. We'll see in 2 weeks.
Let's go. Oh, wait, what? I thought it was almost immediate.
Nope, it kicks in later.
Oh, jeez. Let's go to. You shouldn't have told me that. Let's go to Dwayne in North Carolina, WSJS, our great affiliate in Winston-Salem. All right, Dwayne, what's your favorite junk food?
It's got to be Little Debbie anything.
Oh, come on now. Come on. Do you have
I'm a pre-diabetic, and that's the hardest thing for me to give up right now is all their goodness, sweetie goodness. Oh my gosh.
Let me tell you something. I'm a big fan of the what do they call them? The Swiss Misses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're delicious. But now in our Kroger, they have the big Swiss roll. They call them Swiss rolls. They have the giant Swiss rolls, and I'm like all over that.
And I'm originally from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, so I'm a huge fan of Krispy Kreme.
Hey now. Did you get in on the Krispy Kreme action? What was it, their 80th birthday or something the other day? They were giving away free Krispy Kremes or something.
So I actually keep one of those buy one, get one free cards for them. So I go buy a dozen, I give them a sticker, and I get a free dozen. So I celebrate Krispy Kreme all year round.
Well, hey, nothing wrong with that, Dwayne. I'm telling you, we're driving down the road, and that red light pops on. We're hitting the brakes, and we're making a hard right turn.
Amen.
That's it. All right, Dwayne, thanks for calling in. Man, that's got to be tough to be pre-diabetic and have a passion for Little Debbie. So did they make anything? I tried their Boston cream pies. They're all right.
Are they the ones that make the oatmeal cream cookies?
Oh, yes.
Those are my favorite.
You should get the big, they do the jumbo size now.
Wow. I did not know this.
I got to steer clear of all that.
Yeah, I should too.
Yeah, I've got to get on the, I've got to get back on the diet.
Well, not today, though.
No, not today. Today is National Junk Food Day. So anyway, curious, ladies and gentlemen, your favorite you must-have junk food on National Junk Food Day. 901-260-5926, our number. That's 901-260-5926. Maybe the Brim's snack food delivery truck could just do a drive-by and just drop a box right out of the back there. Dylan, keep an eye out. We'll be right back, everybody. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Todd Stearns Radio Show. Great to have you with us today. I want you to write down our telephone number. You will need this if you plan on calling in 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. Well, we've been following a number of races around the nation as we march toward the midterm elections. One of those races happens to be right here in Tennessee, the 9th Congressional District race. The National Republican Congressional Committee naming this as one of their targets for the midterm elections. They see this as a pickup for the Republicans in the House of Representatives. There is a very, very competitive primary going on the Republican side of the aisle. One of the candidates joining us in studio this afternoon, his name is Jeremy Thompson, and he is running for Congress in the 9th Congressional District. Jeremy, good to see you today. Thanks for dropping by.
Thank you, Todd. We appreciate you having us on.
So, first of all, your reaction to the news that came out, Politico reporting yesterday, the NRCC coming out and saying this is a big race for the fate of the party nationwide. What say you to that?
Absolutely. We knew immediately when Tennessee called emergency session and put this on the plate for redistricting that this would be a national level event, not just because of what's being said and created here in Memphis, but just to retain conservative Republican vision and control in the House and the United States Senate.
When you look at the lay of the land here, and this is a newly drawn district, it is a very long district. You guys are putting a lot of miles on the vehicles. I want to talk about the makeup of the district and what you've discovered out there. But first, I'm really intrigued by your story because you have an amazing background. You and your wife own a restaurant there in, is it the middle part of Tennessee? What part of Tennessee do you guys live in?
Dead center south of Nashville, Lincoln County, Fayetteville.
Wow.
Tennessee.
Okay. All right. So give us a bit of your story.
Yeah. So my story starts with a call to serving other people. From the time I was young and trying to figure out what I was going to do post high school graduation, I was led to serve other people. So I went into public safety and service as a volunteer firefighter. Then I went to school to be an emergency medical technician. I was highly interested in law enforcement and what that may look like as a long-term career. And then in addition to getting qualified in all three of those fields, I had a friend come to me one day and say, you should join the Army National Guard and go be a soldier. And I love this country. I love it enough to die for it. I love people enough to die for them. That's just the way I've been built, and that's the way I was raised. And I wake up every morning trying to make today better than yesterday. And I have never responded to an emergency or conflict abroad with the Republican, Democrat, Independent thought on my mind. When you wake up in the morning at 3 o'clock in the morning and somebody needs help, you respond, you do the best you can, regardless of what someone's political affiliation may be.
What would you say is the top issue facing the 9th Congressional District in Tennessee?
I think the top issue facing the 9th Congressional District is the fact that the emergency was created. It's a national level event being watched by the DC politicians to expand conservative Republican views and ideology. I think we have to protect everything we know as a nation because we're being ideologically infiltrated by communist, socialist, Marxist ideology, and now we have this very rapid expansion of Sharia and Islam, which I think is wholly incompatible.
So I think, and again, I think it's a two-pronged thing. First of all, I think the jihadists are using socialism as the Trojan horse to get into America. And I think the socialists are going to wake up one day, if they're successful, they're going to think they're in control, and they're going to find out the jihadists are taking charge. I mean, we've seen this play out in so many other countries around the world, and we're watching it happen in real time here in America. I know that one of the big issues in Tennessee has been the voucher system. And, it's a challenge if you're going to give, because quite frankly, if you're going to give parents money to send their kids to a Christian school or a Jewish school, you're going to have to let the Muslim parents do the same thing and send them to the Muslim schools. My question is, what the hell are they teaching in those schools?
I think we know. I don't think there's a question there. I think we are all very well aware of what's being taught in that radical religious ideology, and that if at some point they can gain enough speed and power within the United States, they would absolutely overthrow everything we love and know about it.
Now funded by our tax dollars. I think that's the rub for a lot of folks.
It is, and obviously I think we all believe in school choice and free markets and the freedom to do what we need to do or want to do in the United States of America. But with great freedom comes great responsibility. And when we start putting tax money toward government-funded programs, we have to have some level of oversight and accountability.
I think about those schools like, for example, Hillsdale or West Coast Baptist College, very successful Christian schools. They don't take a single penny of tax money. And it just seems to me that's the right way to go here. Because once you're taking that government money, you're beholden to the government.
Well, it's a growing fascination, I think, with a lot of people who don't know what we know, or maybe they didn't grow up how we grew up. But if you're out there and you think you're victimized by government, I would say that you need less government. You don't need more of it. I'm certainly a fan of less government.
The Democrats have made this a national race as well. Over the weekend, you had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Summer Lee, Ayanna Pressley coming in doing a huge rally for Justin Pearson, who is more than likely going to be the Democrat nominee. The guy is a radical leftist. They were in a church here in Memphis, over 1,000 people in attendance, and the pastor said that the Bible promotes socialism and that Jesus was a socialist. I mean, if you win the Republican nomination, this could very well be your guy that you have to go up against. How do you combat that? Jesus was a socialist.
Well, I think people have to be way smarter than the circumstances being surrounded by them. They will continue to push these narratives and twist and shape anything they can to try to introduce this Marxist, socialist, communist ideology that we've seen infiltrating everything we know for the last 50 or 60 years. I think we should take some ownership in that, in the conservative base, that we didn't get out in front of it quick enough. But if you want to know if socialism or communism, Marxism works around the world, all you have to do is read a little bit of a history book and understand that's not the direction we want to go as the United States of America.
It's sort of shocking that even here in Memphis, I mean, it's one thing if it's in New York City or in Berkeley or San Francisco, but it's happening in Memphis, Tennessee. We're watching the rise of these radical progressives, and also in Nashville as well.
Right. It's all over the state. We talk about this often, and it's usually your higher population, Democrat-controlled areas that are pushing this ideological infiltration on the people. The problem I think we have is that Republican conservatives generally have this foundational position of just being good to people. And I know that's been shaped in a different narrative for a lot of people in the inner city. But if you, like I said, if you're out there and you think you're victimized by your circumstances or what's going on around you, I would just say take a pause for a minute and look at what you're governed by. Who are your elected leadership? How are your police departments being run? Is there personal accountability anymore? That's the big thing here. I don't think anybody's taking any personal responsibility or accountability. And then we look to our neighbors, to our left and right, our family members. We don't hold them accountable anymore. We don't hold government officials accountable. Things are getting a lot more reckless throughout government, and that's been my story as a candidate. If you want someone to go to Washington, D.C. and put real-time thought and resolution on the issues and hold the left, right, and center accountable, I'm that person. That's why I did this. That's why I'm running for United States Congress.
JeremyThompson.com is his website, JeremyThompson.com, and you can also follow him on all the social media. You got the X, Instagram, Facebook. Doing TikTok by any chance? It's
probably going on a small scale. I don't do it personally.
I can't figure that out to save my life. I tell you, the social media stuff drives me bonkers sometimes.
Yeah, the kids are good at it, I guess. But I was in the intelligence community for the Army for 22 years, and it was explicitly told to us not to get involved in TikTok.
I can understand. Yeah, I can understand why. Our telephone number 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. I'm wondering what you're hearing from your constituents out there. I mean, it is a massively long, newly redrawn district. What are you hearing from folks? What's on the minds of the voters?
This is a mostly rural district with a lot of agriculture and farmers, farmland, and you have the southern part of Memphis, which is heavily populated. Then you have the northern part of Williamson County, Brentwood, Franklin, Spring Hill, Nolensville that are highly populated areas. And what I'm hearing is that people want some kind of balance to be drawn between what we're seeing in the news and what's really going on in government. Who's going to go to the United States Congress on their behalf and be their voice and be the strongest person in Congress to bring resolution to the issues? Now, I'll tell you, over 22 years of military experience, I've learned one thing is that one person doesn't have all the answers, but a very ambitious, motivated, and organized person knows how to be process-oriented, knows how to build coalitions and teams, and knows how to go to work on day one and start getting the job done.
Have you been surprised by the vitriol in this campaign? Because some of your opponents are on the Republican primary is just downright ugly.
You know, I had anticipated that, I think. I talked to my wife, Lindsay, about that when we first entered, and, you know, we said if stones don't get thrown at us by our own party, stones will certainly start getting thrown at us by the Democrat Party if we should win this primary. But that's something that we've embraced. I think good people have to stop sitting in the shadows and watch all this unfold. But we said at the beginning, and I had this conversation with Todd, I had it with Brent, and I had it with Charlotte, I'm not going to get involved in the ugliness. If we can't win this on merit and qualification and the people's desire to put us in this office, we don't want it to begin with. But our vision is to take the strongest, principled, positioned voice to the United States Congress and start making immediate change. We cannot continue to be hung up on the things that affect less than 1% of this country.
Well, Justin Pearson has already started slinging mud, and I think he believes that State Senator Brent Taylor is going to be the person he's running against, and he's called Taylor a racist, a white supremacist, but he actually said that about everybody in the State House, and I have to assume if you get the nomination, he's going to be calling you a racist and a white supremacist as well. How do you deal with those kinds of the slurs?
Well, you know, I think, number one, we all, regardless of our political affiliation, have the responsibility to be good to one another, and I actually had the opportunity to have this conversation with Justin Pearson at the Hamilton Restaurant in Washington, D.C. We were both there to talk to our political consultants and potentially meet with the Southeastern Political Affairs team at the White House on trajectory and campaign health and things like that. The only thing I knew about Justin Pearson is what I had seen about him on TV, and he did not know anything about Jeremy Thompson. He had never known me, or knew that I was even on the ticket, but I introduced myself and told him that I was going to be a candidate for the 9th District. And his response to me was, I hope you beat the hell out of Brent Taylor. And I said, well, I'm going to, but I'm going to beat the hell out of you too.
What did he say to that? Did he?
We both laughed just a little bit about that, and we talked about maybe communicating and connecting to see what issues we could align on and which ones that we were vehemently disagreeing on. And I found him to be in that moment approachable. But then I also told him that if we're going to represent people, we have a responsibility to behave.
I mean, he called a state trooper to his face a mother effing boy.
That's right. Well,
and didn't apologize, doubled down on that.
That's right. And I told him, I said, I don't know what your raising was. I don't know what your childhood was. I know what mine was.
His parents were preachers.
Well, when I misbehaved like that and I showed blatant disrespect or any kind of intolerant behavior, I got my butt busted, and I got it busted good. And he shared that he got the same. And I told him, if my mom had seen me act like he's acted in the Tennessee State Legislature, I would have been whipped across our farm.
What did he say to that?
He broke contact and went to a booth with his political consultant.
I see. Well, it's just disgusting in my estimation. The only other disgusting thing I've seen so far is what happened to that Memphis pizza joint, Tamboli's, where the 4 National Guard troops were told they were not welcome to eat there. This is happening in Memphis, and I have to get your reaction as a military veteran to what happened to those young people.
Yeah, I was a 22-year National Guardsman, and what I would like to tell people who are listening is that the National Guard is made up of men and women of all cultures, colors, and backgrounds. They are good men and women who are out here to enhance and help the community. If a reduction by 50% in your crime rate and criminal activity is not reflective of the goodness of their presence, I don't know what is. But again, I'm going to default back to we all have a responsibility to be good to each other, and you cannot continue to view the Tennessee National Guard, the federal law enforcement troops or federal law enforcement officials and local police officials that are here trying to make a positive difference in your life. You can't treat them like dirt and expect a positive result.
I mean, I guess, again, it's not against the law. I mean, you can deny service, if you want to. I think it's a pretty darn bad business model, but, it is what it is.
Well, I think that's where we have a responsibility as society to hold those kind of things accountable. We used to do that through boycotts and things like that. And I would call for a boycott or an apology.
You're going to beat the hell out of Brent Taylor. It sounds like you don't like the guy very much.
It's not that I don't like Brent. I didn't even know Brent. Brent didn't know me. I know Brent's been running for political office for over 30 years now, and I'm done with career politicians. And we cannot do politics as usual in the 9th Congressional District of Tennessee and expect different and positive results. I'm not a coattail. I'm not a line tower. I'm a free thinker. I'm a free man, and I believe in less government, liberty, and accountability.
All right, Jeremy Thompson, we got to leave it there. My apologies. JeremyThompson.com. That's JeremyThompson.com. I appreciate you dropping by today.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having us.
Got to take a break. We'll be right back. All right. Did a little bit of gossiping during the break with Jeremy Thompson. Asked him to stick around. You know, it is National Junk Food Day, and you're like very physically fit. So I hesitate to ask this. Please tell me your favorite junk food is like not carrots or celery.
No. I'll break open a bag of chips, cheddar and sour cream chips, or if I eat chocolate, it's probably going to be a Kit Kat.
Oh, that's good. All right. Well, since you're in Memphis, you got to go by Dinstal's Chocolates, one of the finest and one of the oldest chocolate shops in America.
Okay.
Great chocolate. You got to get the cashew crunch though. It's like eating crack. You just can't stop. So
I appreciate that you sharing that.
I'm a junk food. Yeah, I'm a big Brim's. I love pork rinds. So Brim Snack Foods, which is based here in Memphis. You know, they have their products in grocery stores all over America. So all that to say, West Tennessee's got some great businesses out here in this part of the country.
Yeah, you know, we tried pork rinds in our restaurant. We're going to maybe put that on an appetizer part of our menu. And we ordered from one company, and they tasted like leather, literally.
Oh.
And we ordered from a local company and got those in, and they were fantastic.
Oh, you got to share the name of the restaurant real quick.
Oh, the Revolutionary Tavern in Fayetteville, Tennessee. It's been up and running since September the 25th of last year, doing very well, and it's all Revolutionary War themed, and it's based on the history and members of our community.
Do you have a favorite? What's the most popular menu item?
The most popular menu item we have is the fried deviled eggs.
Fried deviled eggs.
Yes.
All right, we're going to have to talk more about this off air. I am partial to the Freedom Rings, though, so
Yes.
those look mighty tasty. All right, Jeremy Thompson, running for Congress, businessman, military veteran, jeremythompson.com is his website address. Go and check that out, jeremythompson.com. Hang tight. We have Michael Wilson from our Houston affiliate coming up next. Mary Walter on the way. This is the Todd Stern Show. All right, welcome back to the Todd Stearns Radio Show. Dylan, I was checking out Jeremy Thompson's restaurant, the menu. We need to do a road trip. That's all I can tell you. We got to do a road trip.
Sounds like we do, actually.
I'm not sure about the fried deviled eggs, but hey, I'm willing to try them.
If it's the most popular thing, it has to be good.
It's got to be, yeah, it's got to be good. But it's all like Revolutionary War themed.
That's really cool. I haven't seen anything like that.
I wonder if they like do they like, if you want to cut your burger in half, do they like bring out a sword, like George Washington's sword?
A bayonet?
Or a bayonet. That's instead of a skewer, you.
Not a bad idea.
I love it. All right, welcome back to the Todd Stearns Radio Show. I want to go to our Patriot Mobile Newsmaker line, and we're always honored to have our good friend Michael Wilson from Patriot Talk 920, the host of the morning show there. Michael, hope you're doing well today.
I would be doing far better if you had mentioned the name of the restaurant again, because I didn't catch it in whatever other segment you talked about it, and I just heard fried deviled eggs, and I've never had that either. But as somebody from the South, from Texas, anything fried has got to be better than the original version, and deviled eggs are already good. Where are we going?
Oh, yeah, we're going. This is, we just had Jeremy Thompson on. He's running for Congress in the Tennessee 9th. He owns a place called the Revolutionary Tavern. That's the name of, and everything is Revolutionary War themed.
Yeah, that's excellent. When you guys mentioned you're going on a road trip, can we just meet there? Can we just all go? Join.
Yeah, most definitely. This sounds like a lot better. Our intern, had actually wanted us to go to the Olive Garden, so I think this may be a step up from that. So
yeah, that's the Italians. We gotta go something American.
The Italians. Oh God, it's one of the things that was so depressing when I lived in New York City. The number of tourists who were eating at the Olive Garden in Times Square. I'm like, really, people? Really, you're gonna come to like the Italian Mecca and you're gonna eat at the Olive Garden?
I mean, you're talking to the right guy. I unfortunately, and I don't admit this often, but I have an Excel spreadsheet on my laptop, my work laptop, that I have all the restaurants in Houston kind of graphed out by Yelp reviews and Google reviews to find out where I'm going to eat when I want to pick a new place. So I'm all down to not go to Olive Garden.
No, absolutely. Now, as far as like restaurants in Houston go, like where do you have like a favorite like steakhouse joint or barbecue joint that you go to?
Yeah, so barbecue, we have quite a few because we have Michelin rated, but I like kind of finding other stuff that's not necessarily on the list but there's a place kind of down in Pearland. It's a suburb, but it's less busy, so it's kind of nice. It's called Killen's Barbecue, kind of a staple. There's also, he also has Killen's Burgers, Killen's Steakhouse. Killen's Barbecue has absolutely excellent stuff. So the brisket's very good. Everything on the menu is good. The mac and cheese is great. Highly recommend it.
They have things like, I'm going through the menu now of the Revolutionary Tavern. They have, instead of starters, they call it First Formation. So you've got Eggs of the Rebellion, and that's the deep-fried deviled eggs with candied bacon. Oh, my God. My cholesterol just went up reading that. Something called Paul Revere's Midnight Bites, which are steak tips glazed in sweet and spicy molasses and served with, they call it a midnight ride for your taste buds.
Is he considering opening maybe like a version of that down in Texas? Could he consider maybe opening a second one? I'll help with that.
We gotta talk to him. Forget about Congress, Jeremy Thompson. We got a franchise.
We got better stuff for you. Bigger and better stuff. More important things.
Yankee Doodle Mac. Oh, there you go. Cheesy comfort worth marching for.
There you go.
All right, we could spend the entire day going through the menu, but they're not a paying client, so we're going to leave it there. Look, Michael, a lot of stuff happening in Texas, but my I told you so moment involves James Tallarico, and he's got a problem now, we understand, with black voters in Texas who are just not buying the Jesus was, non-binary stuff that he's been spewing.
Yeah, and I actually, I'm sure you said it more than I have, but I've long held, I always use the analogy, if you ever meet somebody that's really well off, something that I often find, this isn't always true, but I find it pretty frequently, is that these people try to find happiness from getting a lot of money, and it turns out that doesn't bring you any sort of lasting joy. And so if you didn't find joy when you didn't have a lot, you don't then magically have joy when you do get a lot. And it's the same thing with Democrats. They're just miserable people. And so they always demand more and more things. And it doesn't matter how much. James Tallarico is arguably one of the most progressive candidates to ever run in the state of Texas, really to run anywhere. And it's still just not enough for people. It's still just not enough. And that's insane.
It is fascinating because that's really the crux of the whole socialist movement. They don't want to work for what they get, and they want what you actually worked for. And there's this constant. I love Secretary of State Marco Rubio was giving a speech about this yesterday, and I thought he did a brilliant job of just describing socialism as distinctive and unique evil. And he said it's driven by hatred above all else for civilization itself.
No, and he's absolutely right. And I've said this a long time because I've heard that Jesus was a hippie socialist line, and I've been hearing that since I was, in little Sunday school as a child. That's been a big claim from the evangelical movement, is to try to paint Jesus as this sort of just always peaceful, always giving, and that's it. But part of the problem is that people misunderstand virtue in general so often. You cannot force virtue. You can try all day long to do it, but there's a lot of virtues that people have to come to on their own. That's why tithing doesn't work when it's like we have a required. That's when it becomes a cult. We have a required tithe. It's like, well, I would never go there because charity has to be given out of love. That's what makes it charity. And the problem with socialism is that it's demanded charity, which is just theft. That's the primary difference there. It's not charity anymore. It's just theft.
Michael Wilson joining us from Patriot Talk 920 in Houston. Our telephone number, by the way, 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. You mentioned socialism. I had a pastor over the weekend at one of the big black mega churches saying that Jesus was a socialism and the Bible encourages socialism. And my concern is that so many white conservative churches have disengaged from the culture wars. They've become insular, that this kind of rhetoric is going to spread, and I'm not sure we can stop it right now.
Yeah, and I also think, not to be super conspiracy theorist, but I also think, Todd, that a lot of that was done intentionally. That's why I've always said that studying history, speaking of the Revolutionary Tavern, studying history is so important because we've been basically intimidated to believe that separation of church and state, as written by Jefferson, was somehow meaning that the church shouldn't ever be involved in politics. You'd even hear candidates that were supposedly strong Christians say things like, I'll leave my faith at the door when I go into the legislature. And I've been saying for years, that's the direct, actually opposite of what separation of church and state was. That was supposed to protect the churches and their ability to worship Christ freely. And instead, we've treated it like a get-out-of-jail-free card for us to just ignore everything going on in politics. And the result, of course, has been catastrophic because you can't have a culture and a body politic without something guiding it. And if it's not going to be the real Jesus Christ, it's going to be something else.
It's a great point. Look, I go to a church, and I love my church, and I love how our pastor, infuses, whatever's happening in the culture into the message. And again, it's not forcing people. It's not telling people you've got to vote Republican or you've got to vote Democrat. It's telling people vote your values, vote what the Bible. If you're a follower of Christ, follow the teachings of the Bible and select candidates who share those values. It seems pretty simple to me.
Yeah, maybe don't vote for people that want to murder unborn children. That might be a first step
Yes.
kind of thing. And one of our pastors, he prays basically every Sunday, a sort of imprecatory style psalm. And he says, listen, Lord, I ask that you would come after these wicked rulers and that you would change their hearts, cause them to turn to repentance in you so that they can legislate fairly and with justice in this country. And if they won't, that you would tear down those rulers and you would replace them with rulers who will follow your word, the same as David would have said of the rulers in his time. And we have to be more clear about that in saying, hey, our goal is not some sort of ethos where we just say, oh, we hate these people and they're leftist, crazy communists, but that we're honest and say, no, this is wicked rulers. These are wicked leaders who are abandoning all moral principle that this country was founded on and has caused a 250-year time of unimaginable peace and prosperity. But that only happened because we had wise leaders who love Jesus. And the first step in that is knowing who Jesus is. And if you're going to mispaint and misrepresent who Jesus was, you're not going to get there.
Just curious how things are going in Texas with the Senate race there. Paxton, it seems like he's raising a lot more money these days. How are things looking?
I'm actually pretty excited because I don't want to say that I knew, but there was a small concern, that kind of like voice in your ear that's kind of whispering and saying things aren't going to go well, that said that the party wasn't willing to unite, that we're too divided right now. Because, you look at the Cornyn and Paxton primary, and you can see very clearly these are almost two different parties, that if we weren't a two-party system, those guys wouldn't even be in the same party. If you had like 5 parties, they'd be in different ones. And so that was a very big concern going into the general was, are we going to have the donors? Are we going to have a lot of the party rallying behind somebody that may be very different than who they supported in the primary. And on the bright side, all the evidence I'm currently seeing is that it appears like that'll be the case. I think part of that is that James Talarico is so unbelievably insane that your only option is Paxton. So, I mean, that's why if you talk about Talarico and that black woman that stood up in his Houston kind of campaign stop, she even said, I might rather have Paxton than whatever you are. Like that's kind of where the people are at, is you're so insane that we only really have one option, even if we don't like the other guy.
I want to switch gears here before we have to wrap it up. I don't know if you've seen this viral video of the guy, this old timer at a Chicago Cubs game, and he's standing for the national anthem. There's a kid in front of him. I guess he's a kid. He looks like to be in his late teens, early 20s. And the kid's he's not standing for the national anthem. And so the guy said, if you don't stand up for the national anthem, I'm going to smack you.
Fair warning.
And he gave him a warning, and the kid didn't do anything. So the guy smacks him upside the head. And I just love it because the kid actually stood up.
And yeah, I mean, the guy didn't want to be a liar. Once you say, I mean, if it's going to come out of your mouth, once you say it, you kind of got, if you're a man, you kind of got to go through with it.
Why do I not? I do not have a problem with what this guy did.
No, I think part of the problem is, and this kind of goes back to like when you watch the Batman movies almost. I know there's a weird tie-in, but I as a kid grew up watching the Christian Bale Batmans. That was like my childhood Batman. And I loved those films because it was in a city that's been so corrupted and is so lost its way. Maybe somebody can kind of fix it. That's kind of the same thing here. Like, we shouldn't need an older fellow who doesn't know you to smack you to get you to stand for the national anthem. Where are your parents? How are they raising you? What's the culture doing that patriotism is somehow now evil or not respectable? Like, there's a massive cultural epidemic if we're having to smack people in the first place to get them to stand up for the national anthem. I mean, it really is just wild to me.
All right. We got to leave it there. Everything going well there at Patriot Talk 920. We love hearing from so many of your listeners. It's that they call in all the time.
Yeah, things could now be going better. Things are going swell. We've been going out to all the events. We have we have a weekend coming up. We're going to have multiple gun shows. We're at it one weekend. So much going on. We love being a part of the community. I think we do that maybe better. I don't like to name competition, but we do that a lot better than a lot of radio stations that we like actually being out and not just being a radio station that has a studio and then does nothing. We like being out and being a part of the community. And we've gotten quite good at it.
That's awesome. Well, you guys are crushing it out there. And Michael, we appreciate you always coming on the big show.
And thanks, Todd, as always, for having me on the big show.
All right. Michael Wilson, everybody. Patriot Talk 920, and a great radio station there in Houston. Dylan, could you imagine? I mean, you're just, first of all, who doesn't stand for the national anthem? But when some big old-timer from Chicago says, you better stand for the national anthem or I'm going to smack you in the head, you better stand up.
Unless your legs are broken, you better stand up.
Yeah, and the guy, it didn't look like he was in a wheelchair or anything. I mean, he popped right up.
Yeah.
So problem solved. It's what was it? It was South Park, and they did the thing about what was it? Kids with ADH. What do you call? What's the what?
ADD, ADHD.
ADD. The cure for ADD, and the professor just goes down the list of students there, and they're screaming or whatever, and he just smacks them upside the head.
Yeah,
and they stop.
The old-fashioned way.
It's a great solution, and it doesn't cost anything. I'm just saying. All right, 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. This segment of the Todd Starnes Show brought to you by our friends at Newsmax. Millions of Americans are switching to Newsmax, even President Trump. They're watching great shows with Greta, Carl Higbie, Rob Schmidt. If you're tired of big media, start watching Newsmax. It's free to start. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com for immediate access. Get all of President Trump's most important events live. For example, Mike Huckabee's Israel special, the documentary on Melania Trump and Clint Eastwood. Once you start Newsmax Plus, you will not stop. Try it for free. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com. Download the app. That's NewsmaxPlus.com. All right. This story out of the New York Post. This is interesting. Dylan, you and the lovely Mrs. Producer may find this helpful. So, when you have kids, and especially preteen kids, they're going to be asking questions. And sometimes they're going to be going through stuff, and you got to talk to them about it. And those are very uncomfortable conversations. A lot of them are very uncomfortable. So one mom in Australia has come up with a super-duper plan. I remember back when I was a kid, when it came time for the talk, you know what this is terrible. You know what it would have been your great aunt and great uncle did. You know what they did? You know what my parents did?
What did they do?
They bought me the entire Time Life series called The Book of Life.
Oh.
And said, read this.
Wow.
Got in trouble later on in the school year because I was a big baseball fan as a kid. And I sold the book for 200 baseball cards. And you know why I got 200 baseball cards? There were photographs in that book of life.
Yep.
Those were photos.
There you go.
Yeah, they were very valuable.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
200 cards. That's a good deal.
200 cards. I got sent to the principal's office.
I'm sure you did.
O.P. Sullivan Elementary School.
Oh, boy.
So anyway, this mom has a new way of parenting when the kids ask the weird questions. She sends them to ChatGPT.
Oh, boy.
This is great. And she actually uses ChatGPT as a babysitter. This mom says that she has 4 kids ranging from ages 5 to 12. And as a result, she's just busy. So whenever, it doesn't matter if it's, whatever problem the kid has, she'll just go to ChatGPT. And she says that AI has actually made her a better parent. She says, I work less than 25 hours a week because of how much I use AI. From the pantry to homework. Oh, the homework. The dreaded question is, can you help me with my algebra? But she also says that she uses the technology to help in the kitchen, planning meals, writing out the recipes, grocery list, how to stick to a budget. So all of that is done by ChatGPT.
ChatGPT is great, but is it a parent? Is it parent great? Because, kids are iPad kids for a reason. They're not raised with parents. They're raised with their phones or iPads. This is kind of giving me the same feeling. Just go to AI for your homework, everything. What happens when AI goes away? What do you have then?
That's, it is a great question. It is a great question. I actually tried to use ChatGPT to write a commercial for the new book, The Golden Age.
Oh, yeah.
You know what ChatGPT said? Because the ad is promoting a book that advocates a political viewpoint, I can't help write a persuasive political. Of course not.
No, it's not going to help you with that.
Of course not. But you can tell kids about the birds and the bees.
Absolutely.
You can't write my freaking TV commercial. Sorry, I got a little wound up there. Haven't had my Dr. Pepper of the day just yet. All right, we got to take a break. Coming up, Mary Walter. Turns out Mayor Mamdani has now created 12 blocks of homeless shelters in New York City. So much for property values. Also, Mamdani wants to arrest Netanyahu, and we'll check in with Mary Walter on that. We're taking your calls as well. 901-260-5926. That's 901-260-5926. Man, I wonder what happened to all those baseball cards. I got to rummage through the attic on those. We'll be right back. All right, President Trump now warning that the U.S. would hit any site where Iran is considering developing their nuclear capabilities. So the president making these comments from the White House, reiterating his vow, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. The president said any site where they're even thinking about nuclear will hit it very, very powerfully. Nobody knows except the Iranians the damage that we've done to them. We have done damage that'll take them 20, 25 years to recover. So if we left tomorrow, we had a big success, but we're not leaving tomorrow. A couple of thoughts here. First of all, I thought we had already destroyed Iran's nuclear capabilities. So this certainly implies that we have not been successful at doing that. Now, this is all very strange. And I want to go back to a conversation we had yesterday. We had General John Teichert on, a great military mind. And he is very concerned about where we are right now with the situation in Iran. And he said it is a giant mess. And I believe what the general is saying here. The president also saying that we're going to be striking Iran's Pickaxe Mountain probably pretty soon, a heavily fortified underground complex near a uranium enrichment facility. All right, why are we waiting until now to do that? So we have to go back and look at all of the things the White House has been telling us. They told us 4 to 6 weeks this thing would be over. Clearly, that did not happen. I don't see an end. I don't see the end game here. I don't see the end in sight. Maybe you do. I do not. Then the White House told us in April that we had destroyed. Those are the words, not damaged, destroyed their ballistic missile and their drone capabilities. We now know that to be untrue because, or at least not accurate, because we have dead Americans as a result of an Iranian ballistic missile attack and drone attack on our forces in Jordan. By the way, there's reporting out there that Iran may be getting intel from China and possibly Russia over the exact location of our military troops. That is a troubling situation. So the question is, how do we get out of all of this? It's a mess. It's a mess. So how do we get out of it? Well, there are a couple of thoughts here. Number one, you cannot trust. I don't care what the vice president of the United States says. You cannot trust the Iranians. And this memorandum of understanding that turned out to be a load of fertilizer, it's not going to work because the Iranians aren't going to honor it. The only people trustworthy in all of this are the Americans. So it seems to me we've got a couple of options here. Number one, we can just immediately declare victory and leave. Or number two, we can implement regime change. Arm the Iranians and let them get new leadership in there. And I know I am not a fan of regime change. It has never worked. When the United States puts these people in power, it never works. But I can't see any other way out of this other than just saying, all right, we're declaring victory and we're out of here. Because the Iranians are still going to be shooting missiles. And if they're not shooting at us, they're going to be shooting at Israel. And there are a lot of people saying, I told you so, we never should have gotten involved in Iran in the first place. Now, there are others, and I will say that I believe we have been at war with Iran since 1979. And I believe that we should have taken care of that business a very long time ago. But multiple presidents kicked that can down the road. Multiple presidents. And as a result, many, many thousands of Americans have lost their lives. It's appalling. It's a tragedy. It's disgusting. You pick your adjective. So the question is, what do we do here? Because the people in the Middle East, they do not think like you and I think. They don't cherish life like you and I cherish life. We're talking about radical jihadists 901-260-5926, our number. Let's go to Clear Lake City, Texas. Mike listening to us on Patriot Talk 920. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, thank you. Well, my question to you is there no one in President Trump's administration that realizes they're dealing with people who are apocalyptic? I mean, they're all about Islam, the Quran, and Sharia law, which in their mind supersedes everything. They're on a mission from Allah, and they're not going to listen to reason. They never have, and they never will.
It's a fair point. I mean, they are, and I don't, maybe the broader question is, does the administration understand we're fighting a religious war here? This is not some sort of a, from our vantage point, yes, Islam is a political ideology, but in their minds, they're waging jihad on behalf of, their God. And that makes it a very different war. I mean, these people, they will not think twice about strapping bombs to their kids and having them run into an American military, a battalion.
Right, and if you remember in World War II, the reason why Patton was successful against Rommel is because everyone that preceded Patton that went up against Rommel thought like a West Point cadet. Patton studied German tank commanders, and so he thought like a German tank commander, not a West Point cadet. And that's, to me, the trouble with the administration. We're thinking like Western civilization mentality, and they're Stone Age, like I said, religious apocalyptic mentality.
Mike, what's the answer here? How do we get out of this without getting dragged into another 5-10 year war?
That's not. Well, how do they say that? That's above my pay grade. That I don't. That I have no clue. I just know that the earth is under spiritual attack, not seen since the days of Noah, and I really don't have the answer.
Mike, well, thank you for the call. And I know that sounds depressing. I don't think it is. I think that we are in a spiritual war, no doubt about that. But we've got a hard choice to make here, and I just don't see this. I don't see an easy way out of the situation we've gotten ourselves into. And you wonder if President Trump is really frustrated now with the people who initially said, "All right, we've got to go in." I don't know. I do not know the inner workings of the White House on this one, but it is a disturbing situation we've gotten ourselves into. And again, this should have been handled. And I knew as soon as the ceasefire started, and I don't know how many ceasefires have we had? What, 4, 5, 6? As soon as they started dropping, I'm like, that's it. That's it. We're not serious about winning this, and we're not. My concern is we're going to get more American young men and American young women killed or maimed as a result of us being over there. All right, 901-260-5926 is our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. I want to play some audio here. This is from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. It's a great speech he gave yesterday talking about socialism. Cut number 9, please.
This is a distinctive and unique evil. It has always been driven by a hatred, above all else, a hatred for civilization itself. It is a revolt of the worst against the best, a revolt of the weak and the cowardly against the strong and the good. It is perpetrated by those who cannot build, who cannot create, who cannot achieve great things, and take their revenge upon the world for their own inadequacy by seeking to destroy those who can. This is what radical leftism is. It may wear various different slogans and ideologies across place and time. They can call themselves anti-capitalist or anti-imperialist or communist or anarchist or Marxist, but the fundamental character is always the same. It's always the same. It is a poisonous resentment cloaked in the language of equality and justice and liberation, an overwhelming need to tear down what greater men have built, to wreck what is beautiful and what is right on behalf of people who are only filled with ugliness and have nothing else to offer the world. Through violence and through terror, They once again seek to impose their ugliness on all of us. The old dogma was wrong. The old dogma was wrong. None of this is driven by idealism. It is not utopian. In fact, it is the opposite. One of the criticisms you sometimes hear of communism, for example, is that it sounds good in theory, but it never works in practice. That's actually not true. Communism does not sound good in theory. The world it envisions for all of us is small, flat, gray, leveled of all exception, drained of all that is good and noble in the human soul. The world it envisions is a world without courage, a world without creativity or ambition, a world without heroes or glory or great causes to strive towards, a world without miracles, without myths, without men who rise above the rest to do incredible and extraordinary things. And the world communism envisions is a world without God. For these architects of revolutionary violence, the towering achievement of our civilization, for them, it's an unbearable humiliation, a reminder of what they cannot do, and a reminder of what they cannot be. So they choose instead to destroy. They attack pipelines, they attack railroads, they attack power grids and laboratories, the physical embodied symbols of power and invention and achievement. This is the nature of the terrorism we face today. They despise the West because the West is great.
Well, he's absolutely right. One of the most brilliant messages I have heard in a very, very long time, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the phones here. Salem, Oregon. Kathy, listening to us on KYKN. Hi, Kathy. What's on your mind today?
Hi, Todd. First of all, I want to say that someone that I love and one of my very best friends is an Orthodox Jew. But, October 11th was a massacre, and those Gaza people just came over and slaughtered those concert goers. I believe, this is just my opinion, but I believe that God has his limits. And all of those young Jewish kids that came from actually all over Europe, too, to attend that concert, they were all dancing and listening to this concert in the presence of this huge Buddha statue. It was all lit up, and those Buddha statues are idols. And I'm one that believes that God has his limits. And that action of dancing half naked in front of that statue, they tore down their own wall by doing.
Look, Kathy, I don't speak for God. I have, it's not my place to question God. And I believe that here's my take on God is that he set things in motion, and we get to live our lives how we want to live our lives. How we live our lives will have consequences, either now or in the afterlife. I believe that I believe in free will. My belief in God would not allow me to believe what you're saying. So you're thinking that God punished those young people because they were dancing in front of a statue.
That's not what I said. What I said was...
Then let's get to it. What did you say? Yeah, what did you say?
Wait. Okay. They tore their own walls down by the behavior. Because blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. And he protects Israel day and night. But they tore down the protections by what they were doing in front of that statue. Same thing that happened at the base of Sinai. They were all dancing naked in front of the idol, that golden calf. And the earth swallowed them up.
Well, I hear what you're saying. I don't agree with that. And I think all of the blame goes on the jihadists who crossed over the borders and killed those young people. I mean, those young people, were having a good time out in the, out in the woods or the desert or wherever they were. And I don't blame them one iota for what happened. I just don't. I blame the jihadists. They're the ones that are, ultimately responsible for this. Kathy, I got to run. We got to go to a break. 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Starnes Show.
Is Mickey Mouse racist?
Mickey Mouse is not racist.
It's not racist. According to the Smithsonian Institution, one of your exhibits referenced Mickey Mouse as representing, quote, vestiges of longstanding traditions of blackface minstrelsy. Would you describe that as racist?
No, the historical trajectory of the origins of Mickey Mouse tie directly
so Mickey Mouse is rooted in racism. Is that your testimony?
No, sir, it's rooted in minstrelsy.
Minstrelsy, and you don't think that blackface minstrelsy is racist?
It had certain unobvious racial overtones that have been well documented.
You think that that's problematic, that Mickey Mouse also has those racial overtones?
It's not for me to determine what's problematic. It's determined to me what's accurate.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's the head of the Smithsonian up on Capitol Hill today. And they literally put a label on the Mickey Mouse exhibit at the Smithsonian that Mickey Mouse was an example of blackface. you can't make this up. It's insane. We have some more audio here. This is, and by the way, that's Congressman Brandon Gill. I love that guy. He's out of Texas. It's Dinesh D'Souza's son-in-law, by the way, married as his daughter. So anyway, we'll play some more of this a little bit later. I don't think we don't have enough time here, but it turns out that the Smithsonian also believes that being polite is a form of racism, of white supremacy. And all of this is coming out today up on Capitol Hill as Republicans grill the Smithsonian director over the wokeness that has infested the museum system. Oh, yeah, being polite. Being polite is a defining characteristic of white supremacy culture. And so Gill asks the director right out of the gate, is it important to be polite? And she said yes. And he said, well, are you a white supremacist? And she said, no, she wasn't. Wow. This is what Trump is trying to root out, ladies and gentlemen. 901-260-5926. That's our telephone number. We'll be right back.
Is it important to be polite?
Excuse me, sir?
Is it important to be polite?
Yes, sir.
It's also interesting because the same mass action toolkit that your organization has been promoting references politeness as a defining characteristic of white supremacy culture. Ma'am, are you a white supremacist?
No, sir.
You're not. Can you help me square why your organization says that being polite is part of being a white supremacist?
I'm not exactly familiar with that passage of the Mass Action Toolkit, which is
I can show you the
one that we
passages right
developed.
here.
I don't, pardon me?
I said I just read you the passage from it.
Wow, this is insane what's been going on at the Smithsonian. So not only were they saying that Mickey Mouse is a form of blackface, but now they're suggesting that politeness is a form of racism or white supremacy. And all of this, by the way, being funded by your tax dollars. So good for the Republicans for exposing this. The question is, what's going to be done about it? Seems to me the answer is very simple. You either remove this crapola from your museum or you lose all of your federal funding. I mean, for me, it really is that simple. What say you, ladies and gentlemen? 901-260-5926 is our telephone number. That's 901-260-5926. I want you to listen to this interview. A guy by the name of Joey Salatin, he owns a farm in Virginia. And the guy is fighting Virginia regulators over his chickens. Take a listen to Cut 10.
The state came in and said that's illegal. And it never occurred to me that it would be, that's how naive I was. It just, what do you mean? I'm a voluntary farmer. They're a voluntary buyer. We're neighbors. What do you mean we can't butcher a chicken here and sell it to them? And they said, well, the air is unsanitary. The air is, so you can't, you can't. And I figure they never go on a picnic, really? Yeah. And they said if one fly enters your processing area, then it's an adulterated chicken and inedible. Here was the way they were trying to get me. Your windows have to be covered with fly impregnable mesh. Their interpretation was that assumed you had a wall. I said, no, it doesn't say I have to have a wall. It says if I have to have a wall and there's windows, they have to be screened. This became the crux of the showdown. Uh-huh. And they're saying this is all illegal. We're going to shut you down because you have to have a wall. I said, it doesn't say I have to have a wall. It just says if there is a wall and it's got windows in it. So we went around and around and around. We finally went through the federal inspection. We got our senator, our delegate involved, and our attorney and different things. Anyway, 3 months later, we won. We won that. But it was a knockdown, drag out. It was it was our livelihood. They were going to eliminate our farm and eliminate all of our customers from getting vaccine antibiotic-free chicken, which at that time was very unusual. It's a little more usual now. There's more people have come to it. But at that time, it was extremely unusual to be able to find an antibiotic-free, vaccine-free chicken. And so we won that. But that's the kind of stuff they do. They came in and they said, so well, you have to have changing lockers for your employees. I said, we don't have any employees. So you have to have 9 changing lockers. I said, our house is 30 feet from where we're doing the chicken. We do the chickens in the backyard, So we have to have bathrooms. I said, bathrooms? Why? I said, I've got 2 in our house, 2 in Mom's house. They're 40 and 50 feet away. And if I want to go number 1, I just step behind the tractor. What are we going to do about that? But, when we had the showdown, our minority leader in the House of Delegates in Virginia came legislative aide for our elected guy, and she's standing there. She's sitting there with these guys, and she's got her little half moon glasses, and she looks up at them in our living room, and she looks up at them and she says, "Gentlemen, is it possible that somebody in Richmond created these rules who could not have conceived of a place like Polyface?" And of course, they had to say yes. They could. And interestingly, at that time, we had just had a microbiology lab run a test on our swab test on our chicken. They'd gone to the store and bought chicken. They'd come here and got chicken, sent them to a lab to test for bacteria.
Yes.
And our cultures averaged 133 colony-forming units of bacteria per milliliter to the second permutation. I already don't know what I'm just saying, but that's the way they write it. 133. The store-bought birds that had 40 chlorine baths, ours had no antimicrobials. The store-bought birds averaged 3,600. 3,600 versus 133. And I said, so if it's clean, who cares if it's outside, inside, in the kitchen? You know, if it's clean, it's clean. Well, that's not all we're concerned about. I said, well, what else you can? That's when they started with the bathrooms and changing tables, all this, you know. And so this was the progression of the thing.
So the reason I wanted to share that with you is there is a lot of growing concern that you've got these big corporations and they're poisoning the food chain. And I've been doing a lot of reading up on this, and it's really shocking the amount of chemicals, the amount of things they're doing to our food. You know, for example, and I'll just give you an example of this. When you go and get you want a chicken breast. I mean, if you go to your local, mom and pop farm, a family-owned farm, and you buy chicken breasts, they're going to be, regular-sized chicken breasts. If you go to the store, they're gigantic. Something's not right there. The way whatever they're putting into the chickens, it is not normal, it is not natural, and it is not healthy for you. And I have been on a kick lately of doing more shopping at farmers markets and making sure that I'm getting as much food and produce as I can from locally run farms. And you should too. You should too, because that is the only way we're going to be able to protect the food chain in our nation. But it is shocking the amount of chemicals that they're putting into our food. And this guy's doing it a very unique way, and he fought Virginia regulators and ended up winning the day. But good for this guy. 901-260-5926, our number. That's 901-260-5926. There's a crazy story out of Colorado. The Republican nominee for governor, I just can't. I can't. This story is beyond me. Victor Marks was 3 years old. He says he was forced into a voodoo ritual involving a beheaded cat. And at the age of 7, he killed a man. I am not making this up, ladies and gentlemen. This is the actual guy. He beat all the other contenders. He's the MAGA-endorsed candidate there in Colorado. A man who killed somebody at the age of 7. Mr. Marks now runs a high-risk Christian ministry. That's what he calls it, a high-risk Christian ministry. Says he's rescued 45,000 people from captivity and abuse. As a civilian, he supposedly called in a U.S. military airstrike that killed 70 ISIS fighters. He's also exorcised demons and can do that over the phone if need be. Is that like an 800 number, Dylan, that you can call? 1-800, get rid of Satan. That's frightening. Anyway, this is all on the record. So the guy sat down to do an interview, and he was asked and I'm just going to give credit where credit is due here. If you're a reporter and you're out on the campaign trail saying that as a 7-year-old, your father told you to go out and shoot somebody or kill somebody, then you've got to answer that. All right, take a listen to how the interview went.
At this point, there's nothing that could shock us anymore.
Your claim that your abusive stepfather forced you to kill a man when you were 7 years old, is that the only person you've ever killed?
Well, I would say as a child, yes.
Hey, that was an astoundingly long pause for a very simple math problem. Please tell me the rest of the answer is less bizarre.
Do you think that you've killed people as an adult?
Does it matter?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I'd say so. If you want to be in charge of an entire state, your answer to have you killed anyone cannot be a 7-minute silence followed by a hard pass.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned by the long pause there. You know, that it seems to me that that's a pretty easy answer. Hey, Dylan, have you ever killed anybody?
No.
All right, there you go. See how quick that is?
Could be that easy.
Let me get back to you on that. Yeah. I mean, as a 7-year-old, but here's what gets me. This guy got the nomination. That's what gets me. So one of his Republican opponents, the runner-up, actually declined to endorse Marks. And I'm telling you, if I'm a Republican in Colorado, what do you do? His opponent, or in the Republicans, her name is Barbara Kirkmeyer. She's a state senator. She said, for the record, I still haven't killed anyone. Is that really what it's come to in the Republican Party? Anyway, that's the situation out in Colorado. All of this to say, and the guy says that God told him to run, and that's why he's running, and he's got the support of MAGA. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get him elected to the governor's mansion, but ladies and gentlemen, at some point you have to wonder about electability here, and some explanation I think is due. I mean, if you're out there saying, yes, I killed someone as a 7-year-old child. Okay, you kind of need to explain yourself. By the way, the police have no record of any murders or anything that would, connect this guy as a 7-year-old to, killing somebody. So maybe he did, maybe he didn't. His answers are very odd. And let me just say this, if he didn't, then maybe there's something mental going on there. Because I don't know of anybody else who goes around bragging about killing somebody at the age of 7. Let's go to Doug in Georgia, WDUN. Hi, Doug. What's on your mind?
Hey, back to what you were talking about, food, and I'm so glad to hear that you're trying to eat whole food and get out of this processed stuff. But it just triggered in my head. We were watching Woodstock again last night because I've got a younger child who's never seen Woodstock. I'm talking about a 30-year-old kid. Not everybody's skinny. You cannot believe how skinny everybody is in 1969. And something's happened, Todd. I don't know what it is, but something's out there. Are people eating that much more? I don't know. Anyway, so keep up the good fight and keep trying to eat whole foods. It's the only way out. Let food be thy medicine, they say.
Look, let's get real. There was a time when nobody in the nation was allergic to wheat. I don't know where that came from, but now you've got people out there saying that they're allergic to wheat. That did not used to be a thing. I think you're right, Doug. Back in the 60s and 70s, and really into the 80s, you did not have that many overweight people, and you do wonder what exactly is going into the food. What is Big Food doing, and what is Big Pharma doing, and are they in cahoots? I mean, again, we are the most medicated country on the face of the earth, and we're also the most obese. So you can't help but wonder if there's a connection between the two.
Regardless of if there's the connection, it's a conspiracy built on reality. It is reality that we are obese. Look around. I've never seen so many fat girls. My God, young women, they are so big. And I don't know. Is it the fast food? I don't know.
They wrote a song about it. What fat-bottomed girls? Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Hey,
right.
You do wonderful job filling in for Rush Limbaugh, by the way. Thank you so much again.
You are kind. You are kind to say that, Doug. Thank you for that. 901-260-5926. This is the Todd Starnes Show. All right, I think we can work one more call in. Let's go to North Carolina, WSIC. Marianne. Hi, Marianne. What is on your mind today?
Hey, Todd, it's Mary Ann. I'm the first grade teacher, and I used to tell my first graders, we one of the things that we did, we planned well-balanced meals, and then we went to the grocery store, and I told them, I trained them how to look at the label, and if it had more than just 2 or 3 ingredients, they didn't want to buy that.
Is that right? So you did that as a teacher, as a teacher?
Yeah, as a first grade teacher.
Wow.
And I took them to the grocery store, and we studied food groups. But one of the main things that I wanted to say, you were talking about what's in our food now. You can get there's an app that you can get on your phone. It's got a aqua sort of bluish background with a white thumbs up, an outline of a thumbs up with a white B in the middle of it. It's called the Bobby app. And you put that, and there's another one that it's a white background with an orange carrot, and that's called the Yucca, Y-U-K-A. And both of them come with a barcode. And when you go in a grocery store, and even in a drugstore now, wherever you see a barcode, you can put that barcode on that barcode, and it tells you what's in it. And what you do in our food now, I mean, that's why people are having so many digestive problems. Anytime you look at the of commercials, a lot of commercials are on drugs or something that's supposed to help you with your digestive system. But then while they're all dancing around, it tells you at the bottom that there's a lot of hockey do and those two.
Wow. That's Mary.
Everybody needs to get that Bobby app and or the Yucca app.
All right, Marianne, thank you for the guidance there. And we're gonna stay on this. This bothers me because even if you go into Whole Foods, they tell you everything in there is healthy. Well, it's not. As a matter of fact, you start looking, many of the things at Whole Foods have just as many ingredients as the stuff you get over at Kroger. They only charge more. So I'm not sure we may need to look at the definition of organic. I think it might mean here comes a sucker because you're just paying more money for the same kind of food. And that's just very odd. All right, folks, got to wrap it up for the day. It has been a great one. Just a reminder, if you pre-order my new book, The Golden Age, before August 11th, you will receive a special unpublished chapter of the book. That's just our way of saying thank you for making a pre-order. But again, once you pre-order the book, just give us a call, and we will send you that unpublished chapter. 901-260-5926, our number to do that. We're going to be back tomorrow, noon o'clock. You folks stay cool out there. Crank up the AC, drink some Dr. Pepper, and you be good, America.